sixes make your money grow faster, but sevens and eights can bring financial disaster on Cut Sharks. And here's the host of Cut Sharks, Jim Perry.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much. And welcome to Cut Sharks. Delighted to have you here with us in the studio. Thank you. You're very kind. Happy holiday. Happy 4th of July to you too, Jonathan Goodson. And the opening poem, we thank John Kraft of Vallejo, California, watches us on KRON TV, Channel 4. Thank you, John. Now let's open up the board and get to the cards. Go ahead. And Janice and Melinda start loading in the cards, and we'll meet our card sharks. Be careful how you jump up there. Vonne Wiggins, nice to see you again. Won't you again tell us about you?
My name is Vonne Wiggins, and I'm originally from Wichita, Kansas, and I now live in Reseda, California. I'm a waitress, and I beach bum every now and then, or in Hawaii.
You like to travel to... You say Kansas. Now, in the last show, you said the same thing. You said Kansas.
Kansas.
Is that the way they talk in Kansas?
I've lost the accent. I'm living back with my mom now, and I'm starting to pick it up again, and people are noticing, so I really accent Kansas.
Well, it sounds nice. You like the beach bum.
I love Hawaii.
You got a little money to go to Hawaii. One trip to the money cards. Vonne has won $5,000 in cash here with us on contract. Our challenger is Ed Yarmouth. Hi, Ed. Nice to see you.
Hi.
And again, a little reminder about you.
Well, I'm Ed Yarmouth, formerly of Chicago, and now living in Signal Hill, California. I'm the father of a son and a daughter, and I'm married to my wife for 47 years.
Oh, isn't that nice? Now, we talked about your work as a cab driver, but I know when our players come down here, they always have a little run-through to get used to being up on the stage. And I was sitting back in my dressing room. I heard you give a couple of bars of an operatic aria.
Well, it so happens I'm an opera buff. In the old days in Chicago, I attended every opera. I once had a fare that couldn't pay my fare, and he gave me a tuxedo in exchange. And I used to park my cab at the opera and put on my tux and go in and listen.
That's true.
And then I'd take them out and listen to I was a critic.
Do you have a couple of bars of a favorite aria?
Onne furtive lagrima. That's
lovely. That's lovely. Thank you, Ed. You both got the cards at the beginning of the match.
Yes, we did.
Then we'll pick up where we left off. We play the best 2 games out of 3. We're starting game 1. Actually, game 2, I beg your pardon. Ed won game 1. And in game 2, looking at the board, Vonne has uncovered a queen. She needs 4 cards to tie things up. Ed has uncovered a 7. He also needs 4 cards. We pick up with question 2. It goes to you, Vonne. Vonne, we found 100 men who are top business executives. These are the heads of some of the country's largest corporations. And we asked them, have you ever really enjoyed firing someone? How many business executives have really enjoyed firing someone?
Well, there are some people that are totally obnoxious, and you just really do enjoy it. But I'm going to say that it's not that many of them, so I'm going to say about 30.
30 out of 100 have really enjoyed firing someone, Ed. Higher or lower?
Well, business executives, as a rule, don't get to the position and stature that they have in life by being having involvements with personalities. And if the person is worthwhile holding, they'll hold them. They won't fire them out of sheer crassness. I'd say it would be lower.
Lower than that. If it is lower, Ed, you'll play your cards. If not, Vonne plays hers. The actual number of business executives who really enjoyed firing someone is 9. You're right, Ed. They don't enjoy it. They'll do it. And Ed, winning the question, you're looking at a 7.
Replacing that card, please.
When you win the question, you can change the base card. A jack is a good change.
I would love to go lower.
Lower than the jack. Yes, a 6.
I will freeze.
And Ed being a little conservative on this one, we move over the freeze bar, protecting that position. Of course, that keeps Vonne away from her cards. And Ed, we asked 100 single women. Have you ever tried to build a man's ego during a romantic interlude by telling him, I've never felt like this before? How many women have said they've done that?
Well, of course, you're talking to the wrong man, because I'll have to go back to my book learn, and I don't have those recollections. I would say it's 35.
35 out of 100. Vonne, higher or lower?
Well, I think it's going to be a little higher than that, because I don't know, most women like to make the man feel really good. I wouldn't know about these things because I was married, but, you know, it's...
Of course, yes, indeed.
So I think it's going to be just a little bit higher.
A little higher.
Yeah.
Those other women have done that.
Yeah, those other women
right.
did.
Okay. The actual number of single women who've tried to build a man's ego by telling him, I've never felt like this before, is 36. by one. I wonder who the extra one was there, Levon. Levon, you've got a queen?
Lower.
Playing it lower? Yes, it is a 9.
Freeze.
And we move over the freeze bar for Levon. And now we get to sudden death. And looking at the board, each player needs 3 cards. Someone's got to win on this play of the cards, so control of the board, very important. This question will decide it. Levon, we asked 100 high school teachers, have you ever discovered a student smoking marijuana on the school grounds? How many teachers have discovered a student smoking marijuana on school grounds?
I think that's very prevalent nowadays. So I would say that it was probably a high number. I'm going to go up around 55.
55 out of 100 have found a student smoking it. Smoking marijuana.
I happen to know for a fact that it is almost a requisite to be smoking marijuana. Therefore, I say it would be higher.
Higher. Well, I don't think it's a requisite, but I know.
You know what I mean.
At 55 and a little bit higher, says Ed, this will decide control. The actual number of teachers who have discovered a student smoking marijuana on school grounds is 39. It is not higher. It is lower. Levon gets control. And Levon, you have a 9. You could, of course, change it and try to turn over 3 cards. Or you can pass it to Ed with a 6, and he needs 3 cards.
No
Player
way.
pass.
Ed, have fun.
Oh, fine.
Ed, get them all. You are the champion. One mistake, we have a tie.
I'll go up.
Higher than a 6. A queen, yes.
I'll come down.
Lower than a queen. Yes, a 10. And now the big one.
A little lower.
Is it lower? Yes, it is. Ed turns them all over to win the championship. And it takes bows. Levon, we have to say goodbye, but $5,000 in
I had a great time.
Thank you. That's nice. Thank you, Levon. Levon Wiggins. Ed Yarmouth, come on down here. Huh? Rough flight. Would you like to lead us into a commercial with a couple more bars?
Sure would.
Go ahead.
Oh, things can be very, very merry when you're dealing with the finest guy in the world, Jim Perry.
I didn't know that was coming. That's terrific. Be right back. Thank you, Ed. You're a poet, too. Back with our champion, Ed Yarmouth. Congratulations.
My pleasure.
You cut the money cards?
I sure did.
All right, let's get over and play those money cards right now, Ed. Come on over here. And here come Janice and Melinda to deal them out. Ed, we're going to give you $200 of new money. 3 cards to bet as you will on the bottom line. Move up to the second level. We add another $200 of betting money and 3 more cards. Minimum bets, remember, $50 till you get to the top card, the big bet where you must risk at least half the money. And if you can go double, double, double all the way up to the top, it's $28,800, Ed. Come on.
Mamma mia.
Here's
Let's
$200.
go, honey. Let's go.
I recognize that aria. Mamma mia, yes. Thank you, Melinda. $200 will start Ed off with an 8, right up the middle.
Would you kindly change that card?
I can't imagine why you'd want to change that middle card. Oh,
Well, I'll say
A little bit.
$50 lower.
minimum bet, $50, going with the odds lower.
I will
Hey,
now
but that's
bet
worth
$150 higher.
Higher?
I mean lower.
No.
Lower.
All of it, $150, lower than the ace. Yes, with a 5. 300 and a 5.
What have I got now? 300.
300.
I bet $100 higher.
$100 higher than the 5. He's right again. 400. We're going to move up to 10.
Change that
Give you the other 200.
card.
And he's already asking for the change. He does not want the 10. So on this level, you'll play a 7.
Very well.
Again near the middle.
We got there. I bet $200 higher.
$200 on a 7. Oh, he's got a feeling. I hope so, because it's a big bet for a 7
Going up.
higher. It is. 800 and a king.
$400 lower.
Half of it lower than a king. Double king,
Very
but you
well.
held
We'll
back.
now bet $400 lower.
Come on, let's get it back to 800. Lower. Yes, with a 2. And a great card comes up at a great time, Ed. All of it.
$800
Trying to double it for $1,600. Higher than a 2. Yes. All right. Good comeback after the double king, Ed. $1,600, $200 in the game, $1,800. Not bad at all. No. Good comeback. Ed Yarmouth, $1,800 richer. We'll have a new challenger and start a new match right after this. Hail the champion. Janice is dealing out 2 brand new decks of cards. Here comes a new challenger on Card Sharks. Karen Johnson. Hi, Karen.
Hi.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Won't you tell us about you?
Be glad to. My name is Karen Johnson, and I'm originally from Port Arthur, Texas. Some Texans
You can
out
applaud
there?
Port
Sure.
Arthur, Texas. Absolutely.
I worked for 7 years in West Germany as a recreation director for the U.S. Army. And a year ago, I moved to El Paso, Texas, where I take care of my husband, Mike, and our 2 beautiful little boys, Peter and Matthew.
Well, that's very good. What was it like working overseas for this?
Great. Loved it. Took people on tours to Rome, Paris, London.
What was your favorite city you visited?
Salzburg.
Salzburg, Germany?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Salzburg,
Austria.
That's right, Austria. Yeah, well, it's very pretty there. Nice to
Love
have
it.
you here.
Thank you.
You cut the cards?
Yes, I did.
All right, you know Ed, of course.
I have met.
All right, they'll shake hands and ready to come out fighting as we start with a question to Ed the champion. Ed, we asked 100 married men. Have you ever opened up a copy of Playboy and thought, why can't my wife look like that? How many men have opened a copy of Playboy and thought, why can't my wife look like that?
Well, I've opened up a copy of Playboy, and I thought that my wife does look like that, and most guys, if they're...
Good for you, Ed.
I know she's listening to me, so... And most guys feel if they don't look that way, they'll get it anyhow. I'd say 45.
45 out of 100 have opened up Playboy and said, why can't my wife look like that, Karen?
I think a lot of men may think that. However, when they're answering the question, I think they would have thought, I'm pretty happy with what I've got. So I think it's going to be even lower.
Even lower than 45. I don't think my wife would look good with a staple in her navel. I really don't think so. 45 for Ed, lower for Karen. The actual number of men who've opened a copy of Playboy and thought, why can't my wife look like that, is 41. You're right, Karen, it is lower. It is indeed lower. And Karen starts off the match with a queen.
Lady Luck, lower.
Lower than the queen. Yes, an 8. On the middle card, the challenger takes a 1-card advantage. Karen, oops, excuse me. Makes me very nervous when I read all this money. Marlon Brando was paid over $3 million for just 12 days' work in the movie Superman. That's a fact. So we asked 100 people, do you think Hollywood superstars are overpaid? How many people think Hollywood superstars are overpaid?
I think the majority of people are going to be very definite about that and say yes. We're all out there laboring away for 9, 10, 12 hours a day and making very little money.
Right.
Okay, 6, 7, for much less money. So I think a lot of people are going to say far too much money. 85.
85 out of 100 say the Hollywood superstars are overpaid, Ed.
Well, I can honestly say Schopenhauer had a line for that. The borderline between genius and insanity registers on a hair. You've got to be a genius or a lunatic to be a superstar. Therefore, they're entitled to what they can get, and I say only 40. Or what did you say?
She said 85.
I say lower.
Lower, so you don't have to read a number. You have the advantage. You can just say higher or lower.
Definitely.
Johnny Carson is glad you said that, Ed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The actual number of people who think Hollywood superstars are overpaid is 89, not lower, even more. Karen has it.
I'm astounded.
Ed is astounded, but Karen is playing the cards. You have an 8.
Change it, please.
You can get rid of it. You won the question. A 10 is a little better.
Lower.
Lower than a 10. No, another 10 comes up. Ed, a break for you and a free chance at a 3.
Shall we go up, sir?
Up, he says. Up it
Shall
is,
we
a
go
jack.
down, sir?
Lower, a 2.
Shall we go up?
Higher than a 2, a 5.
Shall we go up?
Trying to go all the way. No. And the last card fails the champion all the way back to the base card. Janice has a lot of spaces to fill in, and the question goes to you, Ed.
Very well.
Ed, we found 100 house husbands. These are all men who stay home and take care of the house and kids while their wife works. And we asked them, have you ever bought anything from the Avon lady? How many house husbands said they have bought something from the Avon lady?
I can honestly answer that, seeing as at one time I was a house husband. And the Avon lady came to the door, and she was I was so non-resistant to her sales pressure. I bought combs that my wife don't use, and I bought various and sundry things. If she had baby bottles, I'd have bought them too. 65.
65 out of 100 house husbands followed Ed's example and bought something from the Avon lady. Karen?
Jim, I don't think husbands are into makeup and Avon-type products, so I think that number is going to be far lower than his 65.
You say lower, and the audience agrees. The actual number of house husbands who've bought something from the Avon lady is 27. It is far lower. Karen, you have it. And Karen, you have a 10.
I'd like to try another one.
Let's see if we can improve on the 10. Oh, a 7. Not a good
I'll
change.
have to go up.
Higher than a 7. No, a 4 is not higher. Ed again gets a break and a free chance to call
Going
up
up.
3. Going up, he says, no. And a good card fails the champion again. Janice will fill in the spaces. Sudden death staring us in the face, and one player needs 4 cards, the other needs 3. Boy, the next question is going to be very important. We'll get to it after this. Looking at the board, Ed has a great base card of 3, but he needs 4 cards. Karen needs only 3 cards, but her base card is near the middle with a 7. So someone's going to have a long way to go as we're faced with sudden death in game 1. Karen, we asked 100 doctors. Should football players be allowed to take pep pills before a game? How many doctors said football players should be allowed to take pep pills before a game?
I think doctors are going to say they shouldn't because they know the natural functionings of a body, and I think they're going to say your own body should pep you up for a game. So
How many
I
say they should?
19.
19 out of 100 say they should be allowed to take pep pills, Ed.
Well, doctors, as a rule, try to adhere to the laws and the covenants of the law. And the law specifically says, no to pep pills. I will say lower.
Lower than that. This will decide control and sudden death. The actual number of doctors who said football players should be allowed to take pep pills before a game is 2. That's all. Ed has it very low. Yeah, those things can be dangerous. Ed, you can play it or pass it. You're already pointing. Karen, you've got a long way to go. You need them all. With a 7, what do you say? Higher than a 7. A yes with a 9.
That's a tough one. Lower.
Lower than a 9. No, a jack is not. Ed has control and wins it in sudden death. Game 1 to the champion. Yeah, it looked like whoever got control of that board was going to win that one. So it's game 1 to the champion, and now we will clear the board and set up with the same 2 decks of cards. Janice deals off the next cards off the top of your deck, and we'll start game 2 with a question to you, Ed.
Okay.
Ed, we found 100 men who are exactly 40 years old, and we asked them, would you want to date a woman as old as you are? How many 40-year-old men would date a 40-year-old woman?
Well, I can honestly say at 40 years, you haven't even reached the prime of life, and a woman at 40 hasn't even sprouted her wings yet. Therefore, I'd say 70.
70 out of 100 40-year-old men would date a 40-year-old woman, Karen.
Oh, Jim, I think it's going to be still higher because they want a woman with experience. And if they're 40, they know a woman of 40 is going to be just as good or better. Higher.
All right, sticking up for the 40-year-old men and women. The actual number of 40-year-old men who date a woman their age is 66, not higher. It's a little lower. You don't have it, Karen. Ed does. Karen thought for a moment she said lower. No, she said higher, and it means that Ed starts off with an ace.
Coming down.
Lower. A 4.
Going up.
Higher than a 4. A 10.
Coming down.
Risking it lower. No.
I was pushing it.
He was pushing it. He went 1 card too far, and
What?
Karen has a free chance at a 4.
Higher.
Higher than the 4. A 7.
Freeze.
And as we move over the freeze bar, Karen comes out on top in that exchange. We'll be back with these nice folks right after this. That's all the time we have for now. We have some nice folks who join us in the studio audience from Coke Hill, Oregon, and all the way from Brisbane, Australia. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Card Sharks. Happy holiday.
A representative of the studio audience will receive men's combination quartz analog watch LCD alarm features, displays even another time zone, a continuous readout of seconds and date, in a carrot-clad case with matching bracelet furnished by Jules Jurgensen. And some of our contestants will receive a cosmetic bag, a Nestle Egyptian henna for beautiful hair. Deep conditioning improves texture and body. Nestle Egyptian henna, nature's way to beautiful hair. Placemats and Swift Premium Franks made with high-quality cuts of meat backed by the Swift traditional quality that taste kids love. A casserole and Popeyes. Fun, delicious, terrific freeze-at-home treat. 12 bars and assorted flavors. Treat your youngsters with refreshing Popeyes. A hibachi and take a break from dishwashing with Chinette disposable tableware. Chinette plates, platters, and bowls combine super strength with the look of fine china. A dark game from Gator Gum when your mouth gets dry. Try Gator Gum, the flavor that's more than just a gum. Air conditioning by Air Temp, a full line of rotary-powered efficient units engineered especially to cool your corner of the world from Air Temp. This is Gene Wood speaking for Card Sharks, a Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production.